All right, everyone, Mr. Slaby here. I got to go quick and fast because I promised 7 or less minutes to introduce science fiction, good people, right there. There it is. And there's Terminator 2 Judgment Day, my favorite movie of all time, and it is indeed science fiction. Okay, things to know before we get going. Science fiction is a formula, literally. There's stuff that has to be in science fiction for it to be science fiction. Two, the conflict or the problem is the whole point to science fiction. So you're going to be identifying that in the stories this week. So important. I mean, other genres deal with like characters changing, like the character arc. Science fiction is all about the conflict and the problem. And the plot structure we talk about today is really the same for almost every story, whether it's science fiction or thriller or mystery or any of that. It's all about the same. Okay, so what does science fiction have to have? Number one, it's got to have a futuristic setting. It's futuristic. It doesn't have to be 2099. It could be 2020, but it has to be some futuristic sense to it. Two, it's got to have some sort of unexplored place. It could be outer space, planets, other dimensions, or if it could be on Earth that looks like us, but let's throw a giant dome over it, we got unexplored place. Okay. Three, you got to have different light forms. They got to be aliens, robots, mutants. So like X-Men, that's technically science fiction, or genetically altered humans, just like Mr. Bettini, who we now know is part cat. That's three. Okay. Four, jargon. Now, jargon is a fancy word for saying vocabulary. Every science fiction wants to throw in some vocabulary and make it normal. For instance, if you know Back to the Future, you know this is called a flux capacitor. That does not exist, but I know that's what it is because I watched the movie. I love the movies. I live in that world when I watch the movies. World engines, blasters, hyperdrives. Everyone should know this is called a lightsaber, even they don't exist. And then this is a Dalek for my Doctor Who fans. That's a nod to you. Five, you got to have advancements in technology and science. Okay, so this is a movie called Elysium where the rich have access to these pods that actually get rid of cancer. Look at that. Trace amounts of cancer, 100% clear. I had cancer. I was lucky. It wasn't that easy. I really like that. Mr. Martin, as you know, is always working around in his shop with science and technology, and there he is developing a robot clone. So just watch out because you don't know which one you're going to meet in the hallway. All right, six. Got to have the experience is beyond our human experience. This is a movie called Inception where these people are hooked up to a machine which we never actually find out what it does, but it gets them into a person's dreams and then they plant ideas and that makes them make decisions on their own that they want them to make. That's not something we can do. Okay. And seven, this is the most important. So number 7, this is the one. This is where the theme is always some sort of lesson related to current social, economic, or environmental problems. So we got here Interstellar. We screwed up the Earth. We need to go somewhere else to find a planet that can have, hold life. And so that's environmental. We screwed it up. We got to find a new planet that can have a good environment. This is called Snowpiercer, and what it is a movie where there's this one train that goes around the Earth because it's like an ice planet now, and these people at the back are the poor people. They are smashed in there and they live kind of like rats, and then the poor people live in the front of the train and they have life of luxury. That's economic, right? That's about money. And then we have Running Man, which is a future where with people have less and less to do. So they take criminals and they throw them on this game show where they kill each other. So it's literally like people watching like criminals, whether they've been proven guilty or not, are actually used as game show bait in a game to the death. All right. Now, let's talk about the plot. You've seen this before, so I'm going to review it. This is the standard plot structure you're going to be identifying. We got introduction and exposition. That's where you have the hook. We learn about characters, where they are, when they are, and then the problem right there at that point, the conflict begins. And notice that that's where the story takes off. That's because with no conflict, that's a flat line, people. That conflict drives the story. The main characters want to solve this problem that takes them all the way to the story. So then we have rising action, we have characterization, we have theme development. We see stuff happen, the characters change a little bit, they react, they try to move towards solving the problem, and then they get here to the climax, which is the point of no return. Climax is when the problem is dealt with. It isn't solved, but it's dealt with, right? So it doesn't have to be solved to be a climax. It just is the moment when it all comes together. And I like to think of it as the moment when it all changes for everyone, right? No one can go back to the way it used to be. Characters have changed, the environment has changed. There's no going back. All right. We have falling action, which is what happens after, and then resolution. Think about this. Resolution is the solution, right? Doesn't mean the problem was solved, but it means that it never will be solved. And in this new world, this new reality, this is it. So it might be that happy duckies and bunnies, everyone got what they wanted, solution was made, or it means that the solution never will happen, and it's a new reality where the bad situation, the problem is permanent. Okay. Yeah, I could show you if you watch the Bettini. This shows up in the Bettini trailer, right? In the hook, we meet Bettini. He's angry at Goatee. We meet the problem. The conflict is when Bettini, like, we see that he teases Bettini and he makes his life miserable. So he's going to erase him from history. So his rising action is the problem being solved. He's going to make the time machine. He's building it. He gets it. He goes back in time, and then we get to the climax, but we do not have the climax because it's a trailer. Trailers don't give the climax away or the falling action or the resolution. You got to go see the movie to do that. So 3 main types of problems. Again, social, good versus evil, war and political conflict, community stability, racism, classism, sexism, anything that's people to people. That's social. 2, environmental. Anything where the environment is involved. Global warming. Like, there's a lot of movies that talk about what happens when the planet is uninhabitable. That's environmental. Right? Natural disasters, maybe hurricane. There could be a science fiction movie just about a crazy, huge hurricane that we've never had before. Same thing with diminishing natural resources. Someday we'll be out of oil. A science fiction story would deal with that, and we'd find out what happened or what could happen. And 3, economic. That's about money. So basically anything that has to do with rich and poor or access to resources because the rich have it and the poor don't, that's economic. Today's author and this week's author is Ray Bradbury, who is Mr. Science Fiction, by the way. He's written everything this week, and I think he's a very easy to read author who talks about some really cool stuff. But always remember this, that anything to do with conflict is Mr. Bettini. This is the guy. He is conflict. And lastly, I won't go over it, but I do want you to know there are other science fiction authors out there, not just Ray Bradbury. This is a little list of them. I would put this out on the Google slide I'll share with you, but these people are really talented and they write good stuff. So there we go. I don't know if I did it, but there you go. That is science fiction, conflict, and plot all in one.